Welcome to Nerdist After. We just watched episode 7 of Marvel's Cloak Dagger, and we're going to investigate it like a vice cop gone rogue. I'm Hector Navarro.
And I'm Eliza Pearl. We have so many questions, and fortunately, executive producer and showrunner Joe Pakaski drops by with the key to unlock our confused minds. And then later tonight, the stars of the show, Olivia Holt and Aubrey Joseph, will join us in studio.
That's right, Tyrone and Tandy, Cloak and Dagger themselves, are here. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so if you haven't seen tonight's episode, go to Hulu or the Freeform app and get caught up.
And you'll definitely want to stick around to the end of our show because we have an exclusive sneak peek of the next episode. So make sure you've got those heat shields installed because this is Nerdist After.
Episode 7 was a psychological thrill ride, so let's break down everything that we saw. Okay, here we go. Tandy and Tyrone combine their powers to enter Ivan Hess's mind in hopes of breaking through that mysterious door. They meet a version of Hess who is stuck in a repeating memory of the big explosion and has no recollection of who he is. The rig is overrun by crazed workers, or terrors, who have been driven mad by the energy released during the accident. And thanks to the power of cookies, they get the confused Hess to remember his past, and they team up to stop the rig explosion. Then, back in the real world, the actual Ivan Hess wakes up from his catatonic slumber. What a great moment. Look at that moment right there. Oh my goodness.
That reunion. Joining us once again to help keep the terrors at bay is Nerdist editor-in-chief Rachel Hine.
I'm here. I don't know how great I'd be in that situation. Yeah. But God, what a great episode.
Yeah.
Great episode.
So good.
Yeah. This episode had kind of a nightmarish vibe. How did you guys like this very clear change of style and pace?
Hector, what do you think I thought of this episode?
Rachel Hine, I think this was on brand for you. I think you really liked this episode.
I loved this. It had, I feel like, it had everything, but it was this great time loop story. There was the pathos with the family and kind of dealing with these demons and forgiving themselves, and Tandy getting stuck in that loop. The terrors had that really great kind of horror zombie vibe to it, and it feels like one of those episodes that takes this show to the next level where it really dives into the lore and some sci-fi and genre, very genre-heavy stuff where when you think about this show as it hopefully continues, this is sort of a turning point of they really went deep into this. It's a little confusing, but it all pays off in the end, and you realize what they're doing. So I loved it. I
agree with Rachel. I think that it was, when you look at the scenes in the rig, it was sort of classic comic book action, but it still made absolute sense in the world of the show up to this point. It was so cool that the show decided to go into the supernatural element of this, that we're exploring the inside of a person's mind. And I really love it when characters do that in any show, period. So the fact that it got to be Tyrone and Tandy that both sort of teamed up and go into this character's mind and explore his deepest fears and his hopes and his personalities and the thing that he's going through and having to relive. Again, I felt like it totally lined up with what the show has set up so far, but it still delivered classic comic book action and bad guys and really fun stuff.
Yeah,
so,
and also dealing with, these really, as every episode really has, these emotional stakes where you see Tandy finally gets to hear her father's voice again and gets stuck in that loop, and that was so tragic because she has to kind of learn how to let go. Tyrone helps her through that, and so you really see them becoming more connected and kind of bonding over the loss that they share and helping each other work through it. So it worked on every level.
Speaking of that exact moment, I think I know what Rachel's answer for this is, but did you guys think for a moment, a possibility, that was actually Tandy's father on the phone? What did you think?
No.
Okay.
But I was very curious as to what he would say, and would it be in the script of Ivan Hess's mind, just that over and over what he was saying. So when she actually got to have conversations with him, it was like so many layers. But I was really surprised that she actually got to talk to her dad, basically.
Yeah.
And it was only the idea of what Hess thought he was. So there were some elements that worked. I thought either it was Hess kind of projecting this idea, or because the show and the comic books deal with alternate universes, are they creating, by being in that space, by going into someone's mind, are they creating, kind of a multiverse that this one is a pocket universe that maybe he does exist in that? Does he have agency of his own, that father? Does he become a different character? So I don't know.
The phrase pocket universe makes my little Marvel heart flutter. That makes me think of a bunch of weird different things, so that's cool.
I mean, and the thing is, like, about the supernatural stuff of this episode is that it's cool because we're now, like, in this strange, literally the whole episode was in this strange world of a catatonic man's mind. Is this really what happened, or is this what his mind goes to, is like, that's how it happened? You know what I mean?
Well, and the guilt, too, that he's feeling from being such a big part of this. At first, I thought maybe they were protecting something, like they were his mind
Yes, me
fighting
too.
back.
Yeah.
And that could still be kind of the case, that he's so set on blaming himself and the inevitability, because he's been testing every variable over and over again, that it's almost like a punishment for himself that he was part of it, and that just keeps happening over and over.
It totally works
over
on a
again.
thematic level, but I think there is also, I mean, they just hint so much at this energy that Roxanne Gulf has been drilling for, and that's the thing that I think there is something to that this energy, what does it do? Does it make people completely fearless?
It's called the terrors, and when you think about Tyrone and Tandy and the way that their powers are manifesting, where's the hope part of that equation? Where is that?
Yeah, that's true. So speaking of those workers infected with that energy, like we were just talking about is it this dark energy making it so that these workers don't have fear? Are they being instilled with fear? Is it something that, I'm just trying to get to that sort of comic book level. Let's try to define, do these beings, do these people, these workers have supernatural powers now, super strength, super agility?
Well, they were kind of burnt up and still... You get as kind of zombie vibe.
Right. Yeah.
It seemed kind of
strength,
like
right?
they're turning against each other. So maybe it felt to me that they were afraid of each other, and to a point of just attacking each other.
Yeah, it just makes them super violent all of a sudden. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, so now that Ivan Hess is out of this catatonic state, where do we go from here? What's Roxanne's next step going to be? Are they going to come after him? What do you think?
I hope they don't come after him, because that reunion at the end was so lovely, and especially after, we fell in love with those characters last week and that tragic loss. So I hope that they get to go off into the sunset and explore the bayou together and do fun science stuff.
The bayou.
Tyrone and Tandy can take on the mantle and hopefully bring down Roxanne, but I hope they get there happy ending.
Well, there's your hope right there.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an unreasonable request, but as we know, any characters that are dealing with the lives of Tyrone and Tandy, I feel like they're all going to meet tragic stories in their lives. So
not them, though.
I know, I'm really rooting for them.
All
right. So guys, Joe Pokaski is standing by to join us. But before he does, let's take another look at Ivan Hess explaining what happened to the rig workers when things started to heat up. Check it out.
Listen, just tell us what's going on. What's happening right here, right now, every time this whole thing repeats.
A question I can answer. Okay. After the klaxons and emergency lights is the initial energy expulsion.
The boom we just heard?
It turns, well, everyone but me, and now you, into bloodthirsty monsters. I call them terrors.
Wait, what?
I have a theory about this energy we're drilling for. When improperly released, it infects the mind with pure fear. That fear spreads from person to person and, well, terrorizes. Anyway, after about a minute, the phone rings, some angry guy on the line. 30 seconds after that is the first explosion. Everything gets real unsteady after that, particularly my cohorts. Until, of course, the big bang that ends it all.
That was awesome. Please give a warm welcome to Marvel's Cloak and Dagger showrunner and executive producer Joe Pokaski. Joe.
Woo! Hey guys.
We were just talking about how fun, all things considered, how fun Ivan was in that whole sequence.
Yeah,
So
Tim, the actor, Tim Kaine, he just does such an amazing job, and he kind of just had so much fun, and he was going crazy and was so excited to talk to somebody for once. He kind of didn't care what he was saying.
Joe, in this episode, Ivan Hess mentions that when the mysterious substance is improperly released, it can infect people with fear and terror. Were Tyrone and Tandy exposed to this same substance on the night of the explosion? And why didn't it affect them in the same way?
I think, I'm trying to figure out how to not give away right now.
The season's not over yet.
It's a really well done question. I think Tyrone and Tandy were very fortunate that there were two of them out there in the water, and that this energy was able to split into two different things.
Oh, cool.
And perhaps together they might not be super healthy.
So in an episode like this, Joe, there's that repeating sequence over and over again, and that's kind of risky to do an episode like that. Can you talk us through how this plot came about?
Yeah, I mean, it felt about time for a completely crazy departure episode, for lack of a better word. Pete Calloway, who is, the guy who runs the room when I'm not there, is he's a special kind of crazy. He's worked on Legion. He kind of drives us to be insane. So we first started talking about this at the beginning of the season, and we're like, how do we do Groundhog's Day meets Deepwater Horizon, but have it mean something to Tandy and Tyrone? We brought in a great director, Paul Edwards, who'd actually made educational videos on how to work on an oil rig early in his career.
Wow.
He's this director that kind of came up through Lost. He's obviously just fantastic at action sequences.
I was going to say, it definitely reminded me of some of the iconic Lost episodes.
That's exactly it. So he was kind of the perfect match for that, and even just things down to the reflective tape on the terrors, the rig workers. Every little detail was just fantastic. So it worked out great, and Aubrey and Olivia just brought their A game. It was like, for most actors, you have to explain okay, this is where you are, and they were just like, nope, I got it, and they just ran through it. I mean, Olivia Holt, you're like, okay, now you've been in there 3 months and you've changed, and she's like, okay, and then she just does
Playing
it.
cards, yeah. Just throwing a card in a hat.
Daggering the terrors like it was
Right?
nothing.
Joe, in a flashback we hear, and we've seen kind of this flashback revisited a few times now, we hear Nathan Bowen talk about 3 things are going to happen if certain things don't occur with the safety of this rig. And we only hear 2 of them. Can you give us a hint about the 3rd thing? Are we reading too much into this?
I'm trying to think. I think the 3 things we talked about, if I remember from the pilot, are structural collapse.
Yeah.
And we see that kind of in the water.
Yes.
Second one being a huge explosion.
A huge explosion, yeah.
And then the 3rd one is the energy dispersion.
Gotcha.
So it's that energy, and we see that in the pilot a little in the first episode, where that energy comes out, hits baby Tandy and Tyrone, and kind of that's kind of the big moment that kind of infects those 2.
And Ivan is alluding to everything ending. Does this, here's a question for you, does this have anything to do with Evita's aunt in her prophecy? Could that also kind of be connected?
It's all connected, as wise men say.
As wise men say, it's all connected. That's great.
Yes.
It's sort of maybe potentially coming to some sort of catalyst between the 2 of them that is whatever the scientific explanation of this energy and the prophecy. That's what it feels like, that those are, which they said magic is just science we don't understand.
Yeah, and I love the idea of Evita's, auntie just basically predicting something that might be caused by man.
Yeah.
And our producers were talking about this. Why would scientists willingly work on a project where the 3rd thing is the end of everything? And
all the time.
I had to let them know. First of all, this is how scientists are portrayed in pop culture. And how many times is there there's always wise people tapped into a supernatural prophecy that know this, but the scientists are always like, oh, the 3rd thing's just going to be energy will be expelled, and we'll figure it out.
Right.
We'll solve it.
It'll totally be fine. Matter and antimatter could tear apart the universe. Let's just keep testing it.
Sure.
Knocking them into each other.
They're still doing it.
What could go wrong? Exactly. All right.
Joe, I wanted to ask about the title of this episode. I did some Googling. And the Lotus Eaters is it harkens back to Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm kind of obsessed with Odysseus and even the James Joyce Ulysses, the one time I was able to get through it. And the idea of Lotus Eaters, we kept talking about how Ivan Hess kind of lives there and forgets his daughter for a while, and when Tandy's in there, even for a short time, she starts forgetting the outside world and starts living there. And Lotus Eaters, just felt like a good 2-word title. We're trying to stick to the 2-word titles in our show, Cloak and Dagger.
Oh, nice.
And we were just very excited that Lotus Eaters felt right for kind of what Tandy was going through.
Absolutely. I love that connection, because I was like, I know there's that title means something. And then after the episode, I Googled it, and I was very pleased to see that. Cool. So thanks for that.
You got it.
Did we miss anything else in the episode?
Gosh, there was so much fun to be had in the episode, but I think this one, in a weird way, was very self-contained. We were very excited to, you know, I think we kind of found the spirit of the episode when Pete and I found that last scene where Tyrone calls Tandy, and they kind of, it feels like they cement themselves as definitive friends. They're now we call each other friends.
It felt like more than friends.
It
was real sweet.
It was very sweet. And they've got this connection that is really intimate. That's a really intimate thing to share with someone, I think.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to my own particular damage, but when Tandy makes fun of him as a 6-year-old, that feels like what you do with close friends.
Yeah,
Like now you're good enough to just make fun of your 6-year-old singing. We got to have a little bit of Marcus, who played Billy, who is a bit of a hip hop artist himself, do what a 17-year-old would do for a first rap.
It was really cute. It was really great,
Yeah,
really genuine, and
Two are adorable.
Yeah, it was awesome. So guys, we have 2 very special guests joining us next. They're only on all the billboards and bus stops here in LA. But first, we'd like to once again revisit some of the most cutting verbal jabs from this episode. These are the dagger to the heart moments from tonight's show. Check it out.
Look, you have one friend.
Who?
Me.
Yeah, we're not friends.
I came along with you on this so I
If
could...
I remember correctly, I made an emotional appeal. A damsel in distress, and you ate it up.
No. No, Tandy,
I smelled your weakness 1,000 miles away, and I played you. Because that's what I do. I play people.
Fine, Tandy, fine. But have you told him the truth?
What truth?
That nobody calls you? That you have no friends? That you push everyone away? That you're a thief? I bet you he doesn't even know you're a liar either. Does he know that you're in such a state since he's died that you turned to drugs? What would he think of his drug addict daughter?
Gracing our Nerdist after set for the first time, the real Tandy and Tyrone, Olivia Holt and Aubrey Joseph. All right, guys. The incredibly fashionable Aubrey and Olivia. How are you guys doing?
Thank you. You're very fashionable yourself.
Not at all. No, look at that jacket. That's amazing. So guys, Tandy always has some real good digs at people. That's kind of one of Tandy's, specialties. But Aubrey, Tyrone in this episode, got in some real truth daggers at Tandy.
Yeah, I mean, we're literally just watching him grow up in front of our eyes. And that's like the most, interesting thing about just our show. We see these 2 characters like evolve, so it was a pleasure to do those scenes too. Just to go back and forth with Liv,
dig into my soul.
Well, you guys have such great chemistry off camera and on camera as well, but you guys seem like you're such good friends in the real world. Where does that fire come from when you have to be real mean to each other? Where does that come from?
Oh no, that's real.
Oh, that's real? You guys really don't get along?
whole scene was
Okay.
We're just forced to sit next to each other all the time.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, at that point we were just tired of each other, so that was real. No, it's I feel like you just pull from just the hurt that they've both been through, and I feel like we all have our own things that when we get to that moment, it triggers that anger. So, just pulling from that.
Also, we were in the New Orleans Time-Picayune building up on the 5th floor with no air conditioning for 5 days in a row.
That might add to the frustration and
So that was like
anger.
a pressure, literal
None
pressure
of that
cooker.
was scripted. They just started going off on each other.
The daggers were real that time.
Yeah.
I have a very important thing I want to clear up first. So you guys both went to Disneyland recently, and Aubrey, it was your first time.
Yes.
So I want to hear from both of you, like, what were some of your favorite things to do there?
I mean, just being there, period. I feel like it was long overdue for myself.
It totally was.
I grew up like as a Disney fan, so.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying, Aubrey was like such a giddy mess that day. I've never seen him in that state ever before. So, I mean, look at him. He's smiling and it's so good. It's amazing.
Are we going to talk about that?
No, I mean,
Who won?
Liv beat me in every single thing. But I mean, come on, we met Mike and Sully. Like,
I know, right?
It was pretty amazing. He got to wear a first visit button too. So everybody in the
still
parks was
have.
like, welcome, first time. Yeah.
Yes. Did you get ears too? I saw you had your pink ones on, which were very cute.
hey,
Thank you.
I don't do the ears, but
I don't think his hair allows the ears.
I would have looked pretty crazy walking around with ears. But
He did get a fancy shirt though, Disneyland shirt, which is pretty epic.
Look at that.
Yeah.
There it is.
Styling, profiling.
Wow.
like look at how happy we are. You know what I mean?
I don't think I've seen either of you smile this much in any
That's
episode.
what I'm saying.
There's like a New Orleans themed
Yeah.
place in Disneyland though, so we checked out that, which was really
definitely
fun.
no stop.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you guys
Nostalgia
have?
hit.
What are your go-to rides? Your favorite rides?
Aubrey on Guardians of the Galaxy was hands down the most epic experience that I've had with Aubrey thus far. Like in our French, like I don't even know how to describe it other than like you're buckled into one seat. He was in my
on top
seat.
of her. Like,
He was
no,
in my
literally,
seat.
that was like, see, I don't do rides, right? So that was just probably one of the craziest moments of that day. We're not gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
I had a great time, guys, and that's all that needs to be said.
Well, guys, your characters have grown more and more comfortable with their powers as the show has gone on, and especially these last few weeks. But this is the first episode where you've really worked together with a full understanding of how your abilities work. What's the preparation in the actual shoot day like for like a stunt-filled scene, a day with powers? What is that like?
Lots of stretching. I think it's very fascinating because this episode not only is it very, physical, but it's also very emotional. So I think that was what was most challenging for the both of us was that not only did we have to be in a very physical headspace, but also our headspace had to be in a very emotional one. So I remember like shooting this episode was really challenging, and of course being in the building with no AC, and I mean we had like 60 plus crew members like in that, so body heat was just like it was all really intense. So I'm sure some of the sweat that you even see on us is real. It's not makeup.
Actually, the AC worked fine. We just thought creatively it would be a good idea.
Are you kidding me?
Get
You
that sweat
savage.
going.
Method. That's method. Olivia, how are
Producing.
how are the light daggers done? Is it a combination of practical and like CG? Like, did you just mimic sort of throwing them and then you get
Those
used
are
to
real.
it?
I saw it myself.
Oh, really?
Those are actually real.
Oh my gosh.
I hate to
Actually
break
come
that.
from your hands?
Yeah, I'll show you guys later. The cameras aren't rolling. Yeah.
Not when the cameras are rolling.
Cool.
Yeah, so we had a really amazing special effects team who, throughout the entire season, were very helpful with the daggers because obviously the daggers start off, a little lighter, and then as my powers start growing and enhancing, the daggers do as well. And so they were pretty amazing with, helping me with acting towards the dagger. And we see in this episode me throwing the cards, which sort of indicates me throwing the daggers. And all of that was mimicking the throwing. I don't think anybody would trust me to actually throw anything, whether it was safe or not. So yeah, and it looks amazing. It looks pretty legit.
In this episode, you're getting a really good hang of like how to throw them. So maybe they would trust you with real daggers.
Maybe, we'll see.
Yeah, real daggers. And we have to say, because it's Marvel, we Joe Quesada actually was very helpful because he had kind of illustrated or edited those daggers. We had a lot of conversations with Joe as we started going from stabby to throwy, and he's been great as far as keeping us realistic to kind of what the MCU version of our throwing daggers are. So it's awesome to have kind of a genius like that at our disposal.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's great.
So speaking of powers, Aubrey, right now you are using your powers of teleportation, but when are you going to be using your/Billy's cloak?
Yeah.
See, is this a setup?
Yes. Yes, it is.
I think just very, very, very soon.
Okay.
So get ready.
So get ready. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, they're just growing so much, and I feel like Ty is, starting to realize that there's a purpose, and he obviously doesn't have these powers for no reason. So I think we definitely will see that cloak soon.
Okay.
Soon.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, we want to get to know Olivia and Aubrey a little bit better. So we're going to give you guys these rapid-fire fill-in-the-blank statements for each of you guys to finish out, okay?
Okay.
Ready? Okay, here we go. My favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movie is?
Iron Man.
Black Panther.
All right.
Okay. The best New Orleans food is?
Oh, God. Everything is good.
Yeah.
They're you can't. Well, I mean, their specialty is it's shrimp and gumbo, and I mean, I didn't eat any of that, but I'm assuming by the hype, it's pretty good.
I was definitely a fan of the hot sausage. That little tradition that they do, I definitely like that.
Oh, I don't know what I'm saying, the beignets. The
Oh, no,
beignets. Oh my God, I
Mm.
ate like 1,000 in 5 months.
Yeah. If I could teleport anywhere, it would be.
These are really hard, you guys.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be rapid fire.
I know, we're really bad at things. by the way. We're really bad at them.
Taking like 50 seconds a question. Madison Square Garden.
Nice.
Oh, that's pretty epic. Oh God, the North Pole.
Ooh.
Finally get to the bottom of this Santa thing,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Come
Figure
on.
it out.
Is it real?
Yes.
We need to figure it out.
This is a good one. Working with Joe Pakaski is.
Terrible.
The worst.
Is he here today?
Oh, hey.
Hey.
I didn't even see her. No, it's amazing. Amazing. Gave me my, one of the biggest opportunities in my life. So,
Yeah.
amazing.
That's a much better answer.
Yeah. You're kind of cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's gonna go on my tombstone. Joe Pakaski, kind of cool.
That's like slightly morbid, but
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Fine.
The next question comes to us courtesy of @the_Tboys on Twitter. If I could team up with any character from a Marvel MCU TV show, it would be.
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones.
Luke Cage. I've been watching a lot of season 2, so
There we go.
that would work pretty well, if I say so.
That'd be awesome.
I would watch both of those.
Yeah.
Those are awesome team ups.
Yeah, we usually ask our guests to pick between Tandy and Tyrone's powers, but we think that you guys might be a little biased towards one of those answers. I feel like we would know. So next question. My secret talent, my uncanny real-life superpower that I'm better at than most people is...
We second this.
I'd probably say...
Question. I'm gonna spoil it right
This is
now.
an interview. Probably my eye for jackets. That's my thing.
Clearly.
Obviously, yeah. Your eye for
That's
Okay.
my thing. I say that.
Okay.
That Metallica one, I still want.
Of course.
Pretty sweet.
Nice.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll have a
We'll
conversation.
have a conversation.
I don't know. Math is my favorite subject, so I don't know. I'm like obsessed with numbers, and yeah, I don't know. A lot of people don't know that about me.
What's your
but
favorite number?
I don't have one.
Oh, that's a true math fan. I can't pick between the numbers. They're all my favorite. I don't have one. Yeah, that's great. All right, guys. Well, if you guys are anything like us, tonight's episode left you mesmerized and eager to watch more. Luckily, we have a little taste of what to expect in episode 8. Here's an exclusive look. Check it out.
Can I come in?
Not today, okay?
Ty, today is today for me too.
I've never had a girl over before. Not that my parents know of.
Relax, okay? Parents love me.
Yeah, I bet they do. Why are you here?
Okay, so first Tandy crashes his high school,
know.
and now she's at his home.
I know.
Well, that's it for this episode of Nerdist After. But we know you still have questions and theories, and we want to hear them. So tweet them to us at Nerdist with the hashtag Cloak and Dagger, and we might use it next week, where we'll be joined once again by Joe, Olivia, and Aubrey.
Yeah, exactly. And follow the show on Twitter at Cloak and Dagger, at Freeform TV, and at Marvel. You can catch new episodes of Marvel's Cloak and Dagger on Freeform Thursdays at 8 p.m. or on Hulu and the Freeform app. Thank you so much to Rachel Hine, Joe Pakaski, Olivia Holt, and Aubrey Joseph for joining us. This was awesome, you guys. Great job with the rapid fire questions. It was fantastic. My name is Hector Navarro.
And I am Eliza Pearl. We'll see you after next week's episode of Marvel's Cloak and Dagger.
You guys can find us on Nerdist.com and Nerdist YouTube and Facebook page, as well as Freeform's and Marvel's digital platforms. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.